So just welcoming Andy Waite, Head of Sales and Marketing in the UK for Motul Oils, and welcome to the stand. Andy, I see the history of the company goes back over a century, so you've got a connection with really the early days of motoring.
Yeah, absolutely. So the history of the company is circa 165 years old now. As an oil brand, we were one of the first brands to pioneer the multi-grade oil from the monograde, followed by the synthetic oil, followed by fully synthetic oil. So we've been pioneering oil right from the early days of motoring history, and being one of the brands prevalent in that space for a very long time, and still today pioneering the next technology moving into the future. But I would say one thing that's really good about what we're doing now is we have a full range of classic oils to service these vehicles, right from monogrades to multigrades, but we're using today's technology for yesteryear's vehicles.
So here on the FIVA stand, which is obviously very much concerned with preservation of vehicles from that era, so you have a range of products for owners of vehicles from the earlier eras of motoring.
Absolutely, right the way from those monogrades, pre-50s, pre-war vehicles. We've got an oil and a grade with the correct additive packs that were specialists for those engines at that period of time. And as we go through the years and decades, and if we come up to where we are now, we're starting to see a new demographic of people coming into that classic sector. There's the 80s and 90s cars, actually my generation of cars what I grew up with, where I'm getting to the age where I look back, they're at that 20-25 years old, and there's a bit of nostalgia for me in there, and we've just brought out a range of oils to now applicate for those ages and eras of vehicles. So these 1030s and 1040 oils, which actually have very different additive packs because catalytic converters weren't involved in there. So yeah, we really look back right the way through the history of motoring and make sure our classic oils cater for all those needs.
And you were telling us about a preservation project in which Motul's involved, and I think unusually these days some younger people are involved in the actual restoration of the vehicles. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, there's quite a few bits. So if we look at our motorsport pedigree, and especially when we're looking at the Le Mans series endurance racing, the Le Mans this year were running synthetic fuels as part of the LMP2 category, and we work with the main homologation engine for the LMP2, and that brings up different challenges running these synthetic fuels for engines, and subsequently for oil. So we're there pioneering the R&D and working with our labs and these engine builders to ensure that the oil grades that we're using are able to tolerate these new types of fuels that are coming through. Here in the UK, one of the things that are really important to us, especially in the classic sector, is keeping the next generation interested in classic vehicles and the preservation of classic vehicles. So we're working with a team of young restoration in their early 20s, mid 20s, and going through the cycle of taking different types of cars and doing different types of restorations. So straight restorations, that keeps us purists happy, but also just putting a little bit of a modern twist on certain cars for the youth to see that actually classic cars are quite fun, and they're great to drive, and there's a whole different passion and meaning that comes around owning and getting involved in these. And like I say, I think the market for the classic is a great market, and I think once you've had that first jab, it's quite addictive. You want to keep coming back for more of the racing and the atmosphere.
Yeah, well, it's great work you're doing in encouraging that younger generation to actually stay interested in classic cars, because it is an area of on the wane, and youngsters these days aren't so interested in cars as the previous generation, so it's great to keep that alive. Now, what about your oil test? You were telling us yesterday about the oil test, and I think anybody running here at Goodwood Revival can have one of the oil tests, and what does that tell them?
Yeah, so historically our lab, we bring here mainly for motorsport, for the guys to check how the engines do, internal engines, and oil gives a lot of indication of what's happening internally with wear, with dilation, with build up, potential antifreeze working its way in. But this year we've done it slightly differently. We've opened this up for everybody, so car club enthusiasts can bring a sample along, or bring a sample pot, or take one from us and go out to their car and quickly draw a sample, and we'll analyse their oil and give them a detailed report of what's actually happening inside the engine. And this is really, really great for preservation. You know, prevention is always better than cure sometimes, and actually getting to a problem earlier that you might not necessarily see until you start to hear a knock, for argument's sake. We can pick that up and advise that either there's an internal combustion issue going on, there's a wear issue going on, or actually you just need to change your oil a little bit more frequently and keep it a little bit fresh, and that will help support the life of the engine. You know, and it's important to have a high quality oil. It's far cheaper that way than it is to rebuild an engine using a poorer quality product. So we're keen to demonstrate that to people, and I think a way of doing that is by this technical aspect of how we can bring this to them, so they can really see the results, which speak volumes in what's happening.
That's great, Andy. Excellent service you're providing there, and thanks again very much for your support for FIVA over the Goodwood Revival weekend.